one who is in full knowledge. Mam, unto me, prapadyate, surrenders. Vasudevaha, the personality of Godhead Krishna. Sorry. Sarvam, everything. Iti, thus. Saha, that. Mahatma, great soul. Sudurlabhaha, very rare to see. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. After many births and deaths, He was actually in knowledge surrenders unto me. Knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is, such a great soul is very rare. Purport. The living entity which, while executing devotional service or transcendental rituals after many, many births, may actually become situated in transcendental pure knowledge that the Supreme Personality Godhead is the ultimate goal of spiritual realization. In the beginning of spiritual realization, while one is trying to give up one's attachment to materialism, there is some leaning towards impersonalism. But when one is further advanced, he can understand that there are activities in the spiritual life and that these activities constitute devotional service. Realizing this, he becomes attached to the Supreme Personality Godhead and surrenders to Him. At such a time, one can understand that Lord Sri Krishna's mercy is everything, and that He is the cause of all causes, and that this material manifestation is not independent from Him. He realizes the material world to be a perverted reflection of spiritual variegatedness, and realizes that in everything there is a relationship with the Supreme Lord Krishna. Thus he thinks of everything in relation to Vasudeva, or Sri Krishna. Such a universal vision of Vasudeva precipitates one's full surrender to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna as the highest goal. Such surrendered great souls are very rare. This verse is nicely explained in the 3rd chapter of the Svetashvatara Upanishad. Sahasra Shirasha Purusha Sahasraksha Sahasrapat Sabhumin Vishvato Vritva Tyatishtad Dashangulam Purushaya Evadam Sarvam Yad Bhutam Yadcha Bhavyam Utamrita Tatveshyanu Yad Anena Tirohati. Lord Vishnu has thousands of heads, thousands of eyes and thousands of feet, entirely encompassing the whole universe. He still extends beyond it by 10 fingers' breadth. He is in fact this entire universe. He is all that was and all that will be. He is the Lord of immortality, and all that is nourished by food. In the Chandogya Upanishad it is said, Na vai vacho na chakshumsi na shrotrani na manashiti achakshata prana iti eva chakshate prana hi evaitani sarvani bhavanti. In the body of a living being, neither the power to speak, nor the power to see, nor the power to hear, nor the power to think is the prime factor. It is the life air which is the center of activities. Similarly, Lord Vasudeva, the personality of God, Lord Sri Krishna, is the primary entity in everything. And because Vasudeva is all-pervading and everything is Vasudeva, the devotee surrenders in full knowledge. Reference here, Bhagavad Gita 7:17 and 11:40. Okay, Om Jnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumita Mena Tasmai Shiguruna Shuchitanya Mano Vishtam Stapita Mena Putale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadadi Sapadantikam Vandeham Shiguru Shudavatakamlam Shigurun Vaishavamsha Shri Rupam Sahajatam Sagaran Ragnathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadhuitan Sabutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Radha Krishna Padan Patan Sahagana Laita Shivchakan Vitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandha Jagatvati Gopisha Gopika Kanda Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishivana Shuddha Devi Pranamami Hripi Panchakalpadru Vishya Kripa Sindhu Vichapitanam Pavani Bhyo Vaishnavi Bhyo Namo Namaham Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashta Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vikasa Swamitine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashta Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamitine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharani Nirvisheshunivadi Pashita Deshtarya Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yan Guru Krishna Vaishnava Bhagwan Tinir Smara Vigna Vinashana Nashaya Nija Vanchita Purana. Okay, so reading the text into the water. So, here, we're reading after many, many births. It was actually knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me the cause of all causes, and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. The word Mahatma is used here, and that is defined in many different ways, and specifically in the 9th chapter. Oh, I just had it up. That Mahatmanas tu mam partha devim prakriti ashrita bhajanti ananya manaso gyatva bhutadi mabhyam. Osana Pratha, those who are not deluded, the great souls are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality God, original and inexhaustible, always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me. These great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. So in this world, it's very hard to find a Mahatma. If you haven't noticed, that amongst all of the people in this society, there's only very few those who are actually endeavoring for perfection. And out of those very few that are endeavoring for perfection, there's very few that are very sincere in that endeavor of perfection. As Krishna, right after this, he says that actually those who are looking for perfection, but they're looking for immature desire, so they're bewildered by what? Their knowledge is stolen by illusion. Because their intelligence has been stolen by material desire, surrendered unto the demigods, and follow particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. So those who are looking for some liberation in life from the miseries of life, often they either look for in some materialistic thing or some impersonal thing, as Srila Prabhupada also says later down the line here. That it is actually very hard to find someone who is executing the devotional service of the Lord, because it is a very advanced path of realization. It is not something ordinary, although sometimes in our own life, because we've been doing it for some time or we've been coming in touch with it, it does seem ordinary. It does seem normal. Okay, well, it's just another day in devotional service. But we can understand from Bhagavad Gita, and if we actually examine this knowledge properly, one who is in actual knowledge, that's why in the 7th chapter, this is the knowledge of the Absolute. 7th chapter, Srila Prabhupada says, between 7 and 12, these are like very important chapters. These are like the most important chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, 9 being at the center of that. Because Krishna begins to explain the knowledge of the Absolute, in which it culminates in the 9th chapter, Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakta, being the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna is giving the position of devotional service, the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and those related to him. So he's a lot of Mahatma. He speaks a lot about the rare platform of devotional service, those who are in ignorance, but those who are actually on the platform of those Mahatmas, and what their position is. A lot of that is discussed from the 7th chapter all the way to the 12th chapter. So we can see that here, that after many births and deaths, he was actually in knowledge, surrenders unto me, knowing me to the cause of all causes. I don't know what that is. It's quite a difficult thing to accept in life, that here's a personality that we come across, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that we have to accept him as the all in all. Because through so many births and deaths, pretty much everybody that we've depended on in our life has failed us. Whoever it may be, because we're mortal beings, whether it be a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, children, they're all of failure actually. It doesn't matter, they're positioned to fail, whatever faith you may put in them. So lifetime after lifetime, we put our faith in so many different things, so many different people, in order to come to that platform of happiness or peace, you could say. And again, we've cheated ourselves, or we've been cheated. So to come to a platform of full faith, full surrender, sarva dharma parityajam mamekam sharanam, leaving aside all other things. It doesn't just mean, okay, this is your dharma and that's what you do. It means leave aside everything. Literally, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would tell his disciples, you came to Mayapur and you deceived me. I thought you came and to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now I see you, you're all going back to your homes to engage in whatever you need to do. But I see that as simply deviation. Said, you should just surrender now, that's it, forget it. Forget it. There's no need to go back. Even if the house is on fire, there's no need to go back. There's no need to go put out the fire. Just simply engage in devotional service. Everything is attained by engaging in Krishna consciousness. But we don't have that faith. That he would tell his disciples like that. There's no need for you to go back home. That's it. Just give it up. He said this when in the Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhav in volume 2. There's in understanding some of his disciples' different personality. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in regards to Bhakti Sridhar Sridhar Maharaj, he mentioned like that to come to a platform of complete faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that is a difficult place to be. That is a very difficult thing to do in this world, and one has to go through so many different trials and tribulations to come to that point of surrender. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen. And so many things that could go wrong when you surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So many things. You'll be left without money, you're left without care, left without security. So many things. We're dependent on so many things. Yes, my girlfriend, my house, my this, my that. How much money can I make? Well, I won't have any money. What about that? Who will take care? So to come to a position in which one realizes that actually that all those things in my life are superficial and I should simply just surrender to Krishna and do nothing else with my life, is a very difficult platform to get to. And anybody who has tried to come to that level can also understand how difficult it is. And then those who are trying to come to devotional service or trying to bring others into Krishna consciousness, you can see how rare it is to find a soul that is, you could say in one sense, qualified to take up devotional service. Ye shatvantam gatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvanda moha nirmukta bhajante mam dudha vrtaha. You got to be clear of sins. Krishna says, well, you can't be duplicitous. So many things. You have to have, what is it? Yesham tantagatam papam, that free of sins in previous lives is free of sins in this life. And then you go out and you try to see people are interested in devotional service. Not at all. What do they have to get out of devotional service? Nothing. This is ahituki apratihata, unmotivated, uninterrupted. We're not going to pay you anything. We're not going to give you anything. Not going to glorify you and not going to give you name, fame, adoration, beautiful woman. No, none of those things that you want. What are we offering? Ahituki pratihata, ye atma suprasiditi, but we're offering the self-satisfaction of the soul. Savaipam saparo dharma, the real occupation of the soul. But who's ready for that? Not many people. Because they're still in the darkness of ignorance. And so, even those who are trying for this, because of such a negative experience in material life, there's such a terrible experience of material life. I just watch people and it's just like, you live in a society where everybody's just trying to stab each other in the back. Not just friends and all of that, just even within family. You just see it's just like, man, it's like the husband and the wife. The wife is trying to be better than the husband, and the husband is trying to be better than the wife, and they don't like each other, and that's like a big common thing in modern society now. Even within families, there's such a crazy competition. There's no trust. And so when one starts the spiritual journey, even if they come to that level of realization that, okay, material life is useless, and now I should probably go towards something spiritual because I realize, okay, there's nothing to endeavor for in this world, that it is just, dukhalayam ashashvatam is temporary, miserable. So then they say, well, then give up the idea of personalities, because every time I depend on some personality, they fail me. That it is the cause of my pain to have that relationship with someone. So this is another trap of coming to, before coming to Krishna consciousness, that we think, well, impersonalism. We get trapped in impersonalism. That we think, well, there is no personality, there is no God, there is no person with qualities that it must be just some vague light that we must surrender to. And because the vague light, you can't be cheated by some vague light. You just merge into it and that's it. You get ananda, you get bliss. But actually, that is another illusion. That is another illusion. That is another tamasa, that one enters ignorance. Why? Because it's not the natural constitutional position of the soul, and they fail to recognize that because of how they're seeing the world through their own lens. Ichcha dvesha samuttena, that there is ichcha and dvesha, that desire and hate, repulsion, attachment and aversion. They're seeing through their attachment, eyes of attachment and aversion. So they give up one attachment just to become attached to something else. They give us attachment to materialism to some extent to become attached to their impersonalism. So they lean towards impersonalism. But when one is further advanced, he can understand their activities in the spiritual life and that these activities constitute devotion service. So now that is very difficult. You can see, for someone to accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that is very difficult. It's very difficult to understand. First of all, it's like some boy, some beautiful boy is the Supreme Personality of Godhead that plays all day, and that happens to also speak this knowledge and plays so many pastimes that are completely, you can't understand. As Krishna says here, later, Naham prakasha sarvasya yoga maya samavrita mudo yam navi janati lokamam ajam avyayam. I am never manifested the foolish and intelligent. For them I am covered by my internal potency, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn and inexhaustible. They can't understand the janma karma chami divyam evam yaveti tatvatha, that they're not able to understand the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. So even when we come to some level of spirituality, then we can understand, whoa, there's spiritual activities on the spiritual platform. That there's the Supreme Personality of God who is very beautiful and who plays with his devotees and has loving relationships with his devotees. And there's a personality who we can put our complete faith in and never be failed by. That is very difficult for people to understand, for people to realize that the Supreme Personality of God is there, and that He is everything, and there is nothing more than Him, and that relationship with Him is everything, that He's the causes of all causes, and nothing happens independent of Him. That is a very difficult platform to come to. So, when one comes to that platform, as related later in the Bhagavad Gita, then he experiences bliss, of course. He realizes that material world to be a perverted reflection of spiritual variegatedness, and realizes that everything there is a relationship with the Supreme Lord Krishna. Thus he thinks of everything in relation to Vasudeva. O Shri Krishna, such a universal vision of Vasudeva precipitates one's full surrender to the Supreme Lord Krishna as the highest goal. Such surrender to souls, great souls, are very rare. They're very rare to find. Brahmande brahmite kona bhagyavan jiva. Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bija. Even to find one teacher or one devotee of the Lord. Any devotee can be a guru. Those who know Krishna, they can be guru. To find even one devotee in this material world, Brahmande Brahmite Kona, one has to wander through lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes, up and down. Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam. Up and down in this material world to find one devotee. Then he Bhagyavan Jiva, he becomes great fortunate. Because why? Because by that association with a devotee, then he's able to get pure devotional service, devotion to Vasudeva. Otherwise, through one's own lens, one cannot understand Vasudeva. His ignorance is too much in that position. But by the mercy of the devotee of the Lord, then he can understand Vasudeva. But it is a very rare platform to come to. We don't realize how rare it is. Therefore, sometimes, if we kind of examine ourselves, how many of us have contemplated even leaving Krishna consciousness? I know for a fact that, maybe this is not for me. It's not for me, I can't do it. It's hard. It's very difficult. The surrender aspect is very difficult. You got to give up all your sarva dharma parityajam. All aspect, dharma, everything that you think is something else that can sustain your life. Dharma, that which sustains life. Oh, maybe I can work a job, or maybe I can do this. No. Sarva dharma parityajam. Give it all up. Oh, I can't do that. What am I supposed to do, Krishna? Very difficult. So we sometimes think, oh, it is a very small thing. Maybe this is just something not for me. Because we get into ignorance. So devotional service, it requires so many different aspects for us to come to this platform of surrender to Krishna. Therefore, Krishna is speaking all of this knowledge for us to realize more and more and more and contemplate upon that we have been given a very fortunate position in this world, that there is no higher position than that of a devotee. There's no higher position. There's nothing more to be gained anywhere in all the three worlds. You can have all of the positions you want. You can be a doctor, you can be an engineer, you can be a scientist, you can be, what do you want to be? Rock star, all of this nonsense? That's what you want in your life? Suffer through so much just to get that position, just to lose it? So what do we want? We want all of these things, but none of them are useful. But that simple surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that is the only interest actually of the soul. There's no other interest. But we are separate. We become separate, that of separate interest of the Lord. So the living entity has to constantly contemplate upon the words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, Krishna begins this whole chapter with this Maya Shakta Manapartha Yogam Yunja Madashraya Asangshaya Samagramam Yata Yajasi Tat Shrinu. Says, now hear how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me with detached mind to me, you can know me in full, free of doubt. Now listen carefully. And what have you been doing till now? And what has Arjuna been doing till now? Has he not been listening? No, but Krishna says, now listen carefully. Because now I am about to give you that which is the substance of everything. Now you listen carefully. And Srila Prabhupada comments that. He says that one should therefore begin yoga practices directed in the last verse of the 6th chapter, concentrating of the mind upon Krishna, the Supreme. Upon Krishna, the Supreme is made possible by prescribed devotional service in 9 different forms, of which Shravanam is the first and most important. The Lord therefore says to Arjuna, Tat Shrinu, O hear from me. No one can be a greater authority than Krishna, and therefore by hearing from him, one receives the greatest opportunity to become perfectly Krishna-conscious person. One has therefore to learn from Krishna directly, or from a pure devotee of Krishna, and not from a non-devotee upstart, puffed up with academic education. So, and then Srila Prabhupada quotes Srinvatam Sukada Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtana Hridayandadi Sabadrani Vidinoti Shritsatam Nashta Praisha Abhidrisha Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamashloki Bhaktir Bhavidina Ishtaki. All of these he quotes in his song Markane Bhagavad Dharma also. That by directly hearing from Krishna, or hearing about the Supreme Personality Godhead, one becomes purified. And that is required, purification. And what is that hearing? Tat Shrinu, one has to hear properly also, submissively. Otherwise one can't get knowledge. Sometimes you realize you speak Krishna consciousness, you speak very directly about what Krishna consciousness is, how one should surrender to the Supreme Personality Godhead, and then people take what they want out of it. People interpret, this is like people read Bhagavad Gita, people read Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, and they'll take what they want out of it. Why? Because we want to see through our vision. Because we are separatist, we have a separatist mentality. There is Krishna's and there's mine. We don't take the position, as Srila Prabhupada says, of a fully surrendered soul, that I am Krishna's. That everything belongs to Krishna. Actually, none of this nonsense, nothing belongs to me. Srila Prabhupada comments that in the, many times, in the Vamana Leela, in where Bali Maharaj offers everything to the Lord, realizing that actually none of it belongs to me anyways. What is the use of me holding on to all this? Even if Vamana takes everything, I have no problem. Anyways, it doesn't all belong to me. So one has to see not with one's own interest. One has to see in reference to the interest of the Lord. What is Krishna trying to say? Because if you try to see, well, what do I want out of this? Then you'll simply be cheated by your own intelligence. As Krishna says later, those whose intelligence is stolen by material desire, they surrender to the demigods. Although it's very clear one should surrender to Krishna, they still go to the demigods. Although they read Bhagavad Gita that says very clearly, Sarva Dharma Parityaja Mamikam Sharanam, still they surrender to the demigods. Still, those who read Bhagavad Gita, still they may surrender to so many material desires. And then along the way, of course, Krishna, we may not be ready for that sometimes also. So Krishna gives different levels of devotional service. Also in the 12th chapter, if you can't, think of me all the time, then you perform, you perform activities, or you offer the result to me. You become knowledgeable of me. But here being spoken about those who are fully surrendered to the Lord. They're very, 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 very rare. Out of thousands and thousands of men, only few, only one. And of those few who surrender, only one may attain perfection. So it's a very difficult platform to come to. And at least I'm realizing that more and more and more, the more you try to teach this to others. The unwillingness of the jiva to try to surrender to Krishna. And then you can look at that upon yourself. That you see it, you try to teach people about Krishna consciousness, they take what they want, and whatever it is not of their interest, then they reject. And then you look at that, and then we can look at that and go, oh damn, that's pretty difficult to bring someone to Krishna consciousness. So how difficult must it have been for me to come to this platform? We can analyze our own life in regards to that, in reference of that. How difficult is it now that somehow or other, being fortunate enough to accept a spiritual master, a bona fide spiritual master, accept the platform of devotional service, being trained up in it. To give that up would be such a terrible position to be in. It would be such a loss. Even if you lose a few $1,000s from your bank account, it's such a pain. If you lose a job, it's such a pain. If you lose a limb, it's such a pain. But to lose that which sustains you, the life of the soul, as Srila Prabhupada says here, that the Lord is the life of everything. He is the power to, He is the center of everything. He references that in a body of a living entity, neither the power to speak, nor the factor to see, nor the power to hear, nor the power to think is the prime factor, is the life air, which is the center of all activities. Similarly, to lose that life, to lose Krishna in our life, that is the greatest loss. So we should understand that our position in devotional service is very, very rare. And that this path of devotional service will make us Mahatmas, Satadam Kirtayanto Mam, those who constantly chant the glories of the Lord, always remembering Him. It is a very rare platform to be. And so it is important for the devotee to constantly endeavor to surrender to the Lord in an unmotivating way, whatever circumstances it may be. We may be stuck in different circumstances in our own life. But under those circumstances, going on to see how to surrender to Krishna. And you'll see that by surrendering upon all situations, we get stuck in some just terrible situations by our own foolishness sometimes. Or sometimes out of just our karmic reactions. But under all circumstances, constantly seeing how to surrender to the Lord, how to serve the Lord, how to get away from the mentality of maybe there's no point of performing devotional service. Maybe I should just leave. Maybe I should not just forget about it. There's no point doing it. Maybe I can be happier somewhere else. To think like that, it is a position of bewilderment. It is, our knowledge is being stolen by illusion. We should understand. Therefore, reading Srila Prabhupada's books consistently, to always remember that is very important. To always remember our position, our fortunate position, and how it can become an unfortunate position very quickly in this material world. Very quickly. It takes a few seconds, takes a few hours to completely fall down back into the material pool. So one has to be careful on this path. It is not all roses and fairy tale and all of this sort of stuff. It is very difficult. Krishna says that later in the 18th chapter, that when one comes to this platform, and he says that you shall cross over this ocean of nations by my grace, remembering me. So one comes to devotional service, well, crossing over the ocean begins there. People are drowning right now, but now you're on the boat of devotional service. Now the difficulties begin. Before difficulties, what is difficulty? It's just life just goes on. Nobody's struggling, as my own spiritual master says. Sometimes that at least you're struggling with your mind. In the material world, people are not struggling with their mind. They're just letting their mind completely control them. But now we're struggling. Now we're struggling to fight with our material desires, with our own ideas of life. So now it begins. Now we must remember Krishna more and more and more. And begin that process of surrender, giving up all of these nonsense, because you're going to have to give it up anyways. So better to give it up early instead of being forced to give it up. And so we should take upon this devotion service seriously, analyzing our position at all times, not to let go of devotion service, because it causes great pain. Maybe not to you or not to ourselves, because we forget about it and go and try to enjoy the world and that was just a phase in my life. But even to the Mahatmas, to the great devotees of the Lord, actually Srila Prabhupada was greatly pained when somebody would leave devotional service. You see that he exhibits pastimes of even crying that somebody is left, and we can feel that, we can understand that when somebody leaves devotional service, how much pain there is actually. Because of gallons and gallons and gallons of blood that the Vaishnavas expel or they spend in making someone into a devotee. And they don't even people don't give that regard, and they just, okay, forget it. So it causes great pain, because they're losing that which is the value of life, that which is the life, actually, of the soul, Vasudeva. So we should surrender to Krishna more and more and more and more, constantly analyzing our situation, constantly seeing our own faults and going on to surrender and becoming that Mahatma, become that soul who can serve Krishna unmotivatedly and show the path of pure devotional service, pave the path of pure devotional service. Because that which great personalities do, others follow. So we should try to perfect our own life, and by showing perfection in our own life, that others may also hopefully come to that platform. Just like we're inspired by our own spiritual masters or devotees around us to become perfect. By the examples of Bhagavatam, by Dhruva Maharaj, we're very inspired by Bali Maharaj, by all of these great personalities. Similarly, if we can perfect our own life by taking the examples of great acharyas and great devotees, then we can also inspire others. So one Mahatma makes another Mahatma, or inspires others to become Mahatmas by spreading the glories of the Lord. So it is a very rare platform, this devotional service. It's hard to attain. Pure devotional service is very difficult to come to. Why? Because by that pure devotional service, one gets Krishna. And Krishna is not someone very cheap. So we should endeavor. In this life, it's possible. And the more you endeavor, the more you can see how it's possible. The more Krishna will give you intelligence. As later Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, I shall give those devotees who are endeavoring, my pure devotees, I shall give them the torchlight of knowledge by which they can come to me. They can pass through this dense forest of material existence. So the more you surrender, the more you can see how to surrender. More and more and more. But it requires faith. It requires faith in Krishna. That I will not lose. I will not be the loser. That independent of whatever circumstances may come in my life, I will not be the loser. By dropping everything, by giving up my prestigious position, I will not be the loser. By giving up my degree, just messing with you. Maybe giving up my degree, giving up my job, giving up my ideal life, I will not be the loser. That this is everything to gain, nothing to lose. Even if you lose everything, anyways, it's going to go. But you have gained that which is the only thing that can be gained in this world, is devotion service to Krishna. Nothing else can be gained in this world. That is the only thing to get out of this actually world. That is the only purpose that is there for. That is the only purpose that this material body is there for. There's no other purpose. And Srila Prabhupada describes when, who's the Sukracharya, he explains that without the body, there's no question of you getting the fruits. The body is very important. But that is the only purpose of the body, is to perform devotional service to Krishna. As soon as we forget that, then we want so many other things. Then we want to fulfill so many different demands. Therefore it is important. Bhaktaram yagya tapasam. Krishna is the enjoyer of everything. Krishna is the enjoyer, not me. Sarva loka maheshwaram, of everything. He is the proprietor of everything. If we can remember this all the time, then everything is nice. Then amongst all of the difficulties of life, all of the different crazy situations that you will go through in life, not that because you come to devotion service and you became surrendered, pure devotee, everything is wonderful. You look at every acharya's life, even all of our surrendered, full, pure devotees, they didn't become pure devotees, they were already pure devotees. Look how much struggle they went through. What to speak of us conditioned souls, how much struggle we'll have to go through. So that struggle, amongst those struggle, always remembering that point, then everything is fulfilled. Everything is satisfactory. So it is a very difficult platform, it is a very rare platform, but nonetheless we have got it. Nonetheless, somehow or other, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and our spiritual master and the devotees of the Lord, we have attained this position of path of pure devotional service. So many different deviations are there, but we have come to this platform. So now, we should not let it go to waste. And be very determined, tivra bhakti, go forward in pushing this movement forward, inspiring a few other souls to take this platform and continue to stay surrendered. So this verse, after many births, only who is in knowledge surrenders to him. So we can see the great souls that we are around, they have surrendered to Krishna, given things up and continue to do that. So we can be greatly fortunate in our position to be around such great souls and endeavor to become a great soul as well. Okay, that's all I will say. Is there any questions or comments anybody would like to ask? Yes?
I was just wondering, in a few, every now and then I hear this phrase about like, now we've come to the platform of pure devotional service, or could you maybe elaborate on that? Because I don't understand. Is it like now we have the opportunity to perform pure devotional service?
Yeah.
If we like do it properly, or because it doesn't seem like any of the devotional service I do is pure. And I don't mean that in a humble way. Just like if you look, if you read the book and then see the situation, so.
Yeah. So there's a lecture called Pure Devotees in the Making by my spiritual master. You can hear that by Bhakti Vikas Maharaj. And he mentions that because we're on the tree, just like unripe mango becomes ripe in time, one just has to stay on the tree. So yeah, we have so many material desires and so many things. Like sometimes you're performing devotional service, you're like, oh my God, God is like, what am I going to do about that? But if you just stay on the tree and you hold on very tightly amongst all of the different situations that come, then eventually your right to pure devotion, you have the right to pure devotion service, as that tatenu kampam susikshamano bhunjayevatma kritam vipakam tadbhag, what is it? Vipabhir vidadam namaste mukte padaya, something. So yes, Sadaya Bhag. Yeah, I know that. So those who can tolerate all of the different difficulties of the mind, of the body, of tolerate all of these things, and continue on, that purification will take place. One becomes purified, Satadam Kirtan, by constantly chanting the holy name of the Lord. So it's the question of who can hold on. how much can you tolerate? Because what we're doing, especially those who are trying to practice renunciation for their whole life, is very unnatural to the body. It's very unnatural. It's very unnatural to the body and to our karma, and at least the way we've been raised in the West, and it's very unnatural. So it's tolerating the mind and the difficulties that come with that. And in time, by that toleration and by constantly hearing about the Lord, one can overcome that situation of his karma. So it requires great level of tolerance. So he's on the path because we've got pure devotional service. We can't say we don't have it because it's right here. It's in these books. Every day, the whole program is that of pure devotional service. So we have it. We have it right there. But we ourselves are very far. Durlabham adurlabham. Very far, but very close. Atma bhakto, but one who has the ability to see. One whose eyes are anointed with devotion. Then adurlabham atma bhakto, very close it is. So, Srila Prabhupada is giving us that. So we have pure devotional service, but whether we take it up or not, that's up to us. And taking up pure devotion requires a lot. So are you ready to go through the challenges of what you have to face? All the crazy things that material nature will throw at us, because we're completely going against what our karma may have sometimes situated for us. So it'll throw so many things at us, so many bodily difficulties, mental difficulties. So like, how much can you tolerate? So many desires, to have so many things, burning desire. You sometimes go through in devotional service, situation in which is just like, I really want that thing. But what can you learn how to tolerate? And really, it will bring you to your knees, that desire. But, maintaining that determination not to give into that and continue in devotional service. And that can be even started now by not giving to your small desires, by tolerating those, by maybe not getting distracted on the internet, by making sure that we read enough in a day. Those are all things to tolerate of the mind, because the mind wants to always pull you in different direction. So how dedicated are we? There's a doubt, will all be tested. But yes, we're on the path. We can't deny it. But we ourselves, now we have the choice whether to take that up or not. That's up to us. This is like, we have, that example is given, that we're holding on to a tree, let go of me, let go of me, let go of me. But it's us that is holding on. So it's up to us to take it up. It's an individual choice. So yeah, we're on the path, but we need to surrender. We need to give up our nonsense ideas. We need to, take up proper devotional service by studying and understanding, not be blind. Thank you. So yeah, like that. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
Yeah. Jai Girish, you have something else? Jai Girish Prabhu.
We see, people come, and initially they may come and may seem very hopeful.
Mm-hmm.
They may be really enthusiastic about the whole process of Krishna consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And slowly they start to pick it up, but then they get to a stagnant point. Maybe like the 4 rounds a day stagnant point or something. You see some people, they like then fall away, and then maybe they come back and then they like join as a brahmachari, Bhakta Mason.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just wondering, does it take like a crisis in the person's life for them to like realize and like help them practice more seriously? Or like how can we distinguish between those who are like good candidates and those who are just like seemingly forever stagnant,
Yeah, welcome to my life.
That's why I asked you.
Yeah, welcome to my life. You can't. What does it take to come to devotional service? The mercy of Krishna. it seems like that's circumstantially. Some people have to go through artharti. Most people have to go through difficulties. So Krishna describes that the 4 types of people that come to devotional service, most of them being those who are in distress, as we see. There is a lot of, you could say in some sense, a lot of requirements. In some sense, there is no requirement. I don't have an answer. It's like people have to be sincere. Why did they stop? Because it stops their material, enjoyment. As soon as they realize, oh, this is going to stop my material enjoyment, then people don't. Then people will dip from it. So it takes a level of intelligence. It takes a level of association, and having faith in that association. Shraddha, and then you have a sadhu sangha. So it takes multiple different aspects to really come to the platform of devotional service. So you cannot chant during the class because you're not listening, and you're not listening to, you're not paying attention to Krishna, and you're not listening to the class either. So you have to see. Some people come take it up, and that's the difficulty of preaching, is you have to give to it every time, 100%. Because people will come and you spend hours and hours and hours and hours giving so much of your life, and then one day they'll just stop, just completely disappear and never talk to you again. What can you do? You try your best. Those are another difficulties to tolerate in Krishna consciousness. So, but we can create favorable situations in which people come, just like we situate a place in order to facilitate for them, such and such. But it's up to the individuals to really take it up. You give the knowledge, you give everything, just like I've had the experience preaching that you do everything. Like, to be honest with you, I'm not bragging, but because of the training that I've been given by Vishnu Chitti Prabhu, Mahotsa Prabhu, and different devotees that have helped me in my life, helped me come to the standard of understanding the philosophy nicely, cooking, cleaning, kirtan, everything, and we've gone that and used that to situate a place where I don't really know what else you could ask for. The prasadam in Athens is pretty, those who've been there, it's pretty up there. The kirtans are really good over there. I mean, here too. The philosophy is great. The devotees there and the friendship that's created there is amazing. The atmosphere there, the way we've built everything out, spent so much time in making the home atmosphere there for people, to facilitate people. But still people won't take it up. And hours and hours and hours of time sitting down and explaining and smashing ideas and giving philosophy and how they can live their lives in a Krishna conscious way. Still, they'll hit a point and they go, that's enough for me. So, it's very hard, very rare for devotees like yourselves to be there who go, okay, all right, let me just do this full time, let me do this fully, surrender to it completely. That's why it's so rare. That's why to be in such association, when one actually tries to preach this message of the Lord, one should appreciate the devotees of the Lord more, because they can realize, oh, it's not very common for people to just take this Krishna consciousness up. So it's hard, How can we just have to give ourselves completely? And that's the platform of surrender. That you're giving so much and people are not reciprocating so much. But you're giving yourself to Krishna, not to them. You have to realize that. That this is my devotional service to Krishna. Because if you think you're giving yourself to them, then you'll be disappointed, because most of the time people won't give themselves to you, or to back, won't reciprocate. So it's important to remind yourself that whatever I'm doing for Krishna, and whatever they may not see it, but Krishna sees that I'm surrendering. Although this is difficult one after another, it's like God. Sometimes it's like, is there even a point in preaching? You bring yourself to that point sometimes, but no, it's like no. This is because as one has the endeavor on that platform. And then mercy will come through in different ways. May not be the way that you hoped. So that's why it's important to be well versed in the philosophy. Otherwise you'll be bewildered. Otherwise you'll think, oh, devotional service is not the real thing. It's easy. You have two routes. Either devotional service is not the real thing, or it's very rare. And if you're not situated properly, then you'll think, oh, it's not the real thing, and people don't need, it's not something for people to take up. Because everybody wants something cheap, something easy. So, yeah, you have to give yourself and see who takes it up. Not conditional, unconditional. People get scared by that too and say, "You're completely. Why is this person so nice to me?" And they get scared. The people told me that. They come constantly, and later I meet them. What happened? Like, when do you? No, I knew if I came around you guys, I would have to surrender, because I see you guys are surrendered, and I'm inspired by that, but I don't want to surrender. It's just like, so if we make the situation too good, you don't like it. And if it's just like, it's the insincerity of the soul. I mean, not the soul, sorry. Insincerity of the person in this material body. So you have to endeavor. You only be very few people, and it's not surprising. You can't be surprised, but there's only few that will take up, because we're trying to preach surrender. Not trying to preach, oh, have this, have that. No, give it all. And so especially that, they'll be very rare, very few. So you can't expect so much. But there may be also, like Srila Prabhupada, if he had, everybody just throw everything away and just completely give themselves. So it depends on what Krishna wants to put us through. Yeah. Is there anything else? Anything from the Matajis? Oh, you have Naveen? Go for it. It's right under your dhoti, bro.
Oh. I just had kind of a basic question, because I guess like you were saying, Christian consciousness is very like hard. It's not like a cheap thing. I guess that was part of what attracted me. But then like other times, I feel like Srila Prabhupada will say, or would say, it's very easy. It's like kind of like the easiest thing, especially like chanting the mantra is just. You can do it anywhere. Like a lot of different factors make it like the easiest. Like you don't have to like perform austerities for like many lifetimes and all these things. So I guess I was wondering like how would you like, I guess, put those two things together? That's like very easy. It's also very hard. Yeah,
it's very hard when you let our material desires get in the way. You'll realize that devotional service is easy because what is it? Chant, dance, feast, and that's it, right? That's the whole process. You got to chant a lot of Hare Krishna, you take prasadam, and you dance and go out on Harinam, and it's pretty ecstatic. But then you'll realize if you perform exclusively devotional service, and then when you struggle, you realize that material desires have come in. Just like an example is given later, just like a lamp in a windless place. It doesn't wave. It burns very nicely. But my spiritual master says, well, even if within a windless place, if the oil is impure, then it will start to splutter. And then the flame will start to like struggle to burn nicely because the oil itself is impure. So we have impurities, and that creates difficulties. That creates obstacles in our devotional service. But you'll realize when you overcome this obstacle, which you will, by performing devotional service, you'll realize, oh, that was the thing that was like making me feel like devotional service is very difficult. But it's actually very easy. You'll go through times in your Krishna consciousness where hearing, chanting, and doing everything is like very straightforward. It's like, wow, everything's so nice. Everything flows. Your rounds are nice. Reading is ecstatic, and cleaning and cooking and all of those things are just like perfect. It's like, wow, it's amazing. And then you go through times where you're like, am I going to survive tomorrow? So then you realize when you overcome those, material desire. And so the more experience you get in that, you realize as you move forward in devotional service, anytime you have difficulty, you immediately point, where is the material desire? Where is the material desire? How do I take that out? And so the endeavor becomes that now. Instead of thinking, it's devotional service, you realize, there's like a material desire that's within my heart that I'm trying to fulfill, and that's getting in the way of me performing Krishna consciousness nicely. So it is very simple, it is very easy, because the process is very easy. But our own material desires make it a big struggle. So, anything else? Anything from the Matajis? No. Okay. We'll just do kirtan, and then we'll prasadam downstairs. Should I make announcements now? That. I don't have all the announcements. Is there a need to make the announcements? This Tuesday, Bhakti Vikas Maharaj is arriving. That's probably the announcement we can make. Our spiritual master, pretty much most of us, all of us are initiated by him here. He's arriving on Tuesday at 8:30. But anyways, he'll be out at 9:30. We're going to be at the airport receiving him. And then he'll be here throughout the next week, probably giving classes and things like that from the week later. So we'll be sending announcements out when he'll be giving classes or when there'll be special events. Is there any other event? Sunday every week, this is there. I think everybody knows that now. Shravanam Kirtanam camp you can register for. That is happening from the 9th to the 11th May. So that's very ecstatic. All of Srila Prabhupada's disciples will be here. A lot of devotees from all over the different parts of the country will be here Friday to Sunday. And Sunday evening is a big festival. And then there'll be a big feast. There'll be initiation on that day also. So a lot of significant things going on. So please stay in the loop. Now you're going to do some kirtan? Sure. I will do a little bit of kirtan and then prasadam. Okay, Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah, okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Premanande Hari Hari Bo, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.